Jamestown, the town of James, and by the river James. If you look here, we have a map of Jamestown in Virginia. When we talk about the English colonies in America, Jamestown is the first permanent colony. And that's what we're looking at today. So Jamestown is funded by a joint stock company. If you recall, Spain funds their explorers through the king. Jamestown's different. Jamestown has a joint stock company, which is a business that is owned by shareholders. So people put money in, and in return, the company invests it in different ventures. So this venture, these joint stock companies, they are created to explore, trade, or settle a particular region in the world. So in some cases, they just fund explorers. In some cases, they just fund people that are trading. But in this case of Jamestown, they fund everything, exploring, trading, and settling. And in return for these exploring, trading, and settling, the shareholders expected a profit. So they want these colonies, in this case Jamestown, to start off. They want it to be profitable. They want to make money. So Jamestown, it's allowed to be settled by a charter. So King James I in 1606 grants charters to the London Company, which could settle near the Chesapeake Bay. So if you look on the map, the pink area, and the Plymouth Company, which could settle in the New England area. So he granted two charters to these two companies, the London Company and the Plymouth Company. Now, if you look at the map, there's a space between the green area and the pink area. King James was smart, and he didn't want colonies too close to each other competing for the same resources. Since they're all English, he did not want them to fight. So smart move on King James's part. So what were the goals of the colonists? Well, first, their goal was to settle Virginia. So above all else, they were to settle, establish a permanent settlement. Their other goal, second goal, was to find gold. The English had been hearing about all the gold that the Spanish had been finding, so finding gold was number two. And finally, they were to find the Northwest Passage. And the Northwest Passage is a water route to the Orient and a water route to Asia. So this Northwest Passage was believed to exist, which would carry ships across North America. If you know anything about geography, we know that, well, there is no Northwest Passage across the continents, but this was their goal as well. So to settle Virginia, they include 29 gentlemen, so minor lords. They include 6 carpenters, 1 barber, 1 drummer, and 0 farmers. So if you think about it, you are sending mostly rich men, a couple carpenters, a barber, and a drummer to a new world to settle. And if people are hungry while watching this, they're going to quickly realize that having no farmers is a slight problem. So 1606, 105 men and boys and 39 crew members leave for America. In May of 1607, the colonists arrive on the coast, and they select Jamestown Island for settlement. Now, why did they pick this one location? Well, there's a few reasons. A, islands can be defended easily. You can see on all sides of you, so they believe that for defense purposes, Jamestown Island would be the best. It's upstream. I'll show you a map, but it's an island up a river. So if a enemy ship, namely a Spanish or Portuguese ship, is sailing along the coast, they can't see the settlement. So it's away from the sight of enemies. And next to the island, there was deep water for the ships to anchor. You don't want supplies and other things to be coming to you and ships running aground. So for any port or harbor, you need deep water. And one of the big reasons, no Native Americans had homes there. so they're away from the Native Americans that might cause problems for them. So, Jamestown, when it comes down to it, we mentioned some issues with the people that they bring along, and it takes a while to figure out how to survive. Now, they have a leader. His name is John Smith, and he was an experienced soldier from Europe. He had been kidnapped and sold into slavery by the Ottoman Empire at one point. He escapes and returns to England, and he gets hired by the Virginia Company as the captain. Now, he has experience in hostile locations. He has experience surviving under the worst conditions. And if you look at the image on the background, you have a lot of portrayals of Native Americans, both good and bad. So since there's some fear as to what the Native Americans are going to be doing, John Smith is the one that the Virginia Company chooses. John Smith also has an interesting motto. If you look on the top right, vincere est vivere. It's Latin for to conquer is to live. So if you can guess what his ideas of options. And it's an extremely tough start for the colonists. You have these people who are unexperienced, especially with growing food. They cannot find any gold, and the land they settle on is quite swampy, so the water that they're supposed to be drinking is contaminated, so people die drinking it, which is why no Native Americans were living there. There's a reason no one lived there. The swampy land also carries mosquitoes, and mosquitoes carry diseases like malaria. So malaria is killing many. And in the first 2 weeks, there's a number of attacks by the Native American people. These people just showed up on their land. They start establishing. The Native Americans are understandably worried that things could go wrong. And they're certainly true. So John Smith is eventually elected president of the colony. Before he was just captain, now he's president. But by that point, only 37 colonists were still alive. So they're going down from, we have 105 people down to 37. So very quickly you have a lot of people dying. And that results eventually in the starving time. Really the colonists start starving to death. And John Smith eventually persuades Powhatan. So Powhatan is the chief of the Native Americans. He just convinces the natives to provide food, which helps them get through the starving time. We're going to go a bit more in detail on Wednesday on the starving time, so I won't ruin the fun. But in 1609, 600 new colonists arrive, including women. And with this arrival of 600 new colonists, that's when the colony starts getting on its feet.